Let me tell you something real. The moment you start shining, someone somewhere will squint. Not because your light is too bright, but because they're not ready to deal with their own darkness. And you're not responsible for dimming your glow to comfort someone who's living in insecurity. This world, especially if you're a woman thriving, is full of jealousy. But here's the secret. You don't fight jealousy with explanations. You fight it with elevation. People don't hate you. They hate themselves when they see you winning. So what do you do when they whisper, when they copy, when they sabotage or smile fake in your presence? You level up. You grow louder in silence. And you never, ever shrink just to fit someone's comfort zone. Let's talk about it. How to handle jealous people. With class, with power, and without ever stepping off your throne. Jealousy often walks into our lives wearing a friendly face. It doesn't always show up in obvious ways. Sometimes, it hides behind compliments that sting, behind silent treatments that come out of nowhere, or behind people who suddenly distance themselves when you're doing well. And in those moments, most people get confused. They ask, what did I do wrong? But here's the truth you need to tattoo on your mind. You did nothing wrong by rising. You're not responsible for how others digest your success. Let's be clear. Jealousy isn't about you. It's about how other people feel about themselves when they see you. Imagine this. You've been working hard on your fitness journey, and finally your body starts changing. You feel strong, confident, empowered, and suddenly your closest friend says, you're becoming too obsessed with how you look. Pause. That's not concern. That's discomfort, their discomfort. You know why? Because your glow is forcing them to confront where they've been lazy or neglectful in their own life. And instead of being inspired, they choose to envy. That's when you recognize it. And more importantly, you don't absorb it. You're not here to water yourself down so others feel taller. You're not meant to shrink your goals just to make small-minded people feel safe. When someone can't clap for you, when they make backhanded comments, when they're quick to notice your mistakes but quiet during your wins, understand this. They're bleeding internally with comparison. But your job is to keep shining without apology. Think of a sunflower. It doesn't bend toward shade just because the weeds below it can't handle the light. No, it keeps rising. It keeps turning toward the sun. That's you. When someone is envious, it's not your cue to explain. It's your cue to elevate. The moment you start explaining your worth, you've already lowered it. In daily life, it's subtle. Your coworker sees you praise in a meeting and suddenly becomes colder. Your cousin mocks your ambitions, saying, "Don't dream too big. Not everyone can make it." Your partner feels threatened when you start earning more or glowing differently. But listen to me. Their jealousy is not your storm. Don't carry their clouds into your sunshine. Recognize the storm, carry an umbrella, but don't walk in the rain just to prove a point. You have to understand that the way people treat you often has less to do with you and more to do with how they see themselves when they are around you. Sometimes your confidence triggers their insecurity. Your happiness reminds them of what they're missing. Your freedom shows them where they're trapped. But you weren't born to dull your light to make others comfortable in the dark. Let them squint, let them shade, let them whisper. You keep walking like you own every damn step. When you absorb jealousy, you start doubting yourself. you begin questioning, maybe I shouldn't have posted that achievement. Maybe I should stay quiet about this win. Maybe I should downplay my goals. No, stop right there. If you mute your success to soothe someone's envy, you become their prisoner. And darling, you weren't born to serve other people's insecurities. So next time it happens, the fake praise, the weird silence, the unnecessary critique, don't get emotional. And don't be afraid to failure. The fake praise, the weird silence, the unnecessary critique, get conscious, don't react. Recognize, take it as a sign that you're leveling up, that your light is blinding enough to get noticed, that you're moving in a direction that's shaking people who thought you'd stay small. Smile at it, let it fuel you, and keep walking like your name belongs on a billboard, because maybe it does. Comparison is the thief of joy. We've all heard it. But what no one tells you is that competition is often a silent killer of peace. The moment you start racing someone who isn't even headed in your direction, you lose your own path. You lose your voice trying to echo someone else's. Imagine you're scrolling through social media and you see someone just bought a car, launched a brand, got engaged, posted a picture, perfect life. And without even realizing it, your heart skips, not with excitement, but with pressure. You start asking, what am I doing wrong? But here's the truth. You're not behind. You're just not in their race. The only lane you need to care about is your own. You were never born to compete with anyone, only to continue your own growth. Think about runners on a track. The second they turn their heads to look at the person in the next lane, they lose speed. Why? Because focus breaks. Energy splits. That's what happens when you obsess over what others are doing. You dilute your power. You start shifting your timeline, your rhythm, your journey, just to catch up to someone who may not even be going where you're destined to go. Let me give you an example from real life. You've been working steadily in silence on your passion project, a blog, a business, your art. Then you see someone else suddenly blow up, getting likes, views, opportunities, and you panic. You think, maybe I should do what they're doing. Maybe their style is better. No. What's meant for you doesn't require imitation. It requires consistency. Don't compete with noise. Continue with authenticity. I remember a girl who loved baking. Her Instagram page had slow growth. Then one day someone told her, you need to start doing trends, dancing, drama, clickbait. She tried it, her videos blew up. But she burned out. Why? Because she was competing in a space that didn't feel like home. She got applause but lost her passion. And you see, when you chase numbers instead of purpose, you might win the game but lose your soul. This applies in every part of life. In relationships, for instance, you see someone with a flashy partner, vacations, gifts. You begin to think, why doesn't my love life look like that? But girl, stop right there. Don't compete with a highlight reel. Continue building your own private masterpiece. The strongest connections aren't always seen. The deepest roots grow underground. Not everything valuable comes with applause. Even at work, your colleague gets promoted, gets noticed, gets the praise. You wonder, am I invisible? But trust me, your consistency is doing more than you know. People forget, bamboo takes years to grow underground before it shoots up overnight. Don't let someone else's quick win make you question your slow burn. Compete and you lose focus. Continue and you become unstoppable. You don't need to be louder. You need to be real. You don't need to be faster. You need to be steady. You don't need to compete. You just need to continue becoming the version of you that no one else can duplicate. Because when you continue without stopping to compare or prove, you become magnetic. You start walking in rooms, not trying to be seen, but being felt. You radiate peace, the kind that's not shaken by someone else's success. You understand that life is not a race, it's a rhythm. And you, my dear, are a force when you're in sync with your own beat. So don't ask, how can I be better than them? Ask, how can I be truer to myself today? Because the truth is, real queens don't compete with other queens. They fix each other's crowns and keep walking like they own the damn kingdom. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table, and not everyone who claps is happy for you. Some are only clapping loud enough to distract you from the knife they're sharpening behind your back. Your energy is sacred. Your peace is power. And in this world full of noise, drama, and hidden agendas, protecting your energy is not just self-care. It's survival. Every day you wake up, you have a limited supply of energy. You choose where to spend it on your dreams, your healing, your goals, your growth, or on meaningless conversations, toxic relationships, and drama that doesn't pay your rent. It's time you become the bodyguard of your soul. Let people call you rude, let them say you've changed. But when peace becomes your priority, opinions lose their power. Let me tell you something real. You can be the most positive person in the room, but if you're surrounded by people who feed off gossip, jealousy, and chaos, you will burn out. You will start to question your own light, not because you're dim, but because you've been standing in the wrong room. Energy is contagious. Protect yours like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Picture this. You're on a journey to build something meaningful. A business, a new life, a better version of yourself. And then there's that one friend who always doubts, always drains, always downplays. Every time you share good news, they find a way to poke holes in your joy. That's not a friend. That's a leak in your spirit. You can't fill your cup if someone keeps tipping it over. Protect your energy circle by loving from a distance. You don't need to explain. Distance is the answer jealousy can't argue with. And it's not just about people. It's also about the content you consume, the places you visit, the thoughts you allow. Ever scrolled on your phone for hours and suddenly felt empty? That's not laziness, that's energy theft. You just gave away your attention to 100 opinions, fake standards, and polished lies. Start curating your life like it's a masterpiece. Not everything deserves your gaze, your ears, or your spirit. In your workplace too, energy vampires exist. That colleague who always complains, who always sees the negative, who never celebrates your wins. Cut the cord emotionally. You can be professional without being available for their projections. Sometimes maturity is realizing you don't need to respond to every provocation. Silence is your shield. Your smile, that's your sword. Family, yes, even them. If someone, blood or not, constantly disrespects your boundaries, your path, or your peace, you owe them less access, not more excuses. We've been trained to believe loyalty means suffering. It doesn't. Loyalty to others should never cost you your loyalty to your own peace. Some bonds are meant to be loosened, not nurtured. Not everyone grows with you, and that's okay. Protect your energy even if it makes you the villain in someone else's story. Your soul is not up for debate. Every queen has a court, and that court determines how high she rises or how fast she falls. Look around. Who's in your court? Do they challenge you with love or compete in disguise? Do they speak life into your dreams or secretly hope you fail? If the vibe feels heavy, it's not your job to carry it. It's your cue to walk away. Your peace is your responsibility. And when you stop giving away free access to people who drain you, you become unstoppable. You glow differently when you stop begging people to understand your worth and start building walls where there used to be open doors. The moment you guard your energy like royalty, life stops feeling like a battlefield and starts feeling like a throne. Use their hate as confirmation. If they're hating, you're doing something right. That's not just a cliche, that's truth carved in fire. People don't waste their energy on someone who isn't shining. If your name is coming out of their mouth, that means your presence is making noise in their world. That means you're seen. That means you're uncomfortable to their comfort zone. And trust me, when you begin rising, the silence turns into whispers. And the whispers turn into noise. Use that noise as confirmation that you're exactly where you're meant to be. You could be the kindest soul, the hardest worker, the most humble heart, and still there will be people who dislike you. Not because of your flaws, but because your light exposes their shadows. That's the game. That's the truth. So the next time someone throws shade, don't flinch. Collect it. Build your empire in the shadows they provide. Turn that doubt into drive. Let me give you a real life example. There was a woman who started her own skincare line. Small, handmade, authentic. People laughed, said it was cute, told her it wouldn't go far. Family said, get a real job. Friends said, you're wasting your time. But she kept going. And one day, she saw one of her loudest critics copying her formula and selling a knockoff version. That's when she knew, oh, I'm a threat now. That wasn't competition. That was confirmation. The hate didn't stop her, it spotlighted her. Haters often reveal more about themselves than they ever do about you. A jealous person is simply someone who sees something in you that they can't embody, no matter how hard they try. Instead of being inspired, they get triggered. But here's what powerful women do. They don't get distracted by noise. They use it as background music to their victory. Think about Beyonce. Think about Oprah. Think about any powerful woman who's ever broken barriers. They were criticized, misunderstood, mocked. But did they stop? No. They turned every insult into intensity, every gossip into grind, every dismissal into domination. Hate is free advertisement. The more they talk, the more attention you draw. But attention doesn't scare a woman who knows she's walking in divine alignment. Even in relationships, you'll experience this. You level up, start healing, start glowing, and suddenly the same people who ignored you come back bitter or angry. They'll say, you've changed. And you need to smile and say, yes, I have. I evolved. You should try it. Because people hate most what they can't control. Your independence threatens their ego. Your peace triggers their chaos. Your growth exposes their stagnation. And sometimes the hate comes from the people closest to you. A friend who suddenly gets cold. A family member who becomes distant the moment you start thriving. Don't internalize it. Don't shrink. Don't soften your success to make them comfortable. You are not responsible for the insecurities others feel in the presence of your power. Use it as fuel. Use it as clarity. Use it as a loud, flashing signal that says, you're on the right path. Keep walking. Because at the end of the day, what they say about you behind your back is none of your business. What matters is how you keep showing up. Unbothered, untouchable, unapologetically you. Hate doesn't hold you back. It launches you forward. When you stop fearing it and start feeding off it. Every powerful woman has been underestimated. Every queen. But what separates her from the crowd is that she didn't stop when they doubted her. She used their hate as a stepping stone, as proof that she was disrupting the system, and as fire that forged her into the unstoppable force she was born to be. Confront with class or not at all. Because not every insult deserves a response, and not every conflict is worthy of your crown. The most powerful weapon you can ever carry is elegant restraint. Not silence out of weakness, but silence from the wisdom of knowing some people only win if they can drag you into their chaos. That's their arena. They want you to throw your dignity on the ground and roll in the mud with them. But when you stand tall, calm, and graceful, you destroy them with peace. There's something untouchable about a woman who doesn't flinch when provoked. She doesn't scream to prove a point. She doesn't clap back to validate her strength. She looks them dead in the eye with a smile that says, I heard you. I just won't stoop. That's not weakness. That's royalty. Take a look at your everyday life. You're at work, doing your best, growing, glowing, and then someone says something slick in a meeting, a jab disguised as a joke. The room goes quiet. Everyone's watching. You could explode, but instead you say, thank you for your input, and you move on, like the storm didn't touch you. That's confrontation with class. You didn't let them win. You show the room you are in control of your emotions, your reaction, your image. That power, it echoes longer than any scream ever could. Or imagine this, you've got that one family member, we all do, the one who belittles your choices, throws shade under the table, acts like they're helping when they're actually just planting doubt. At every gathering, they wait for their moment. And when it comes, you simply say, I appreciate your concern. I trust myself. You don't defend, you don't break, you rise. And in doing so, you leave them arguing with their own shadow. Confrontation isn't about winning arguments. It's about choosing your peace over your pride. There are moments when silence is the ultimate shutdown because nothing disrupts a hater more than being ignored by the one they try to provoke. Some people don't want resolution, they want attention. Don't give it to them. But class doesn't mean weakness. Let's be clear. There are moments when confrontation is necessary. But even then, it's an art, not a war. You pull someone aside, you state your truth calmly, firmly, without the need to raise your voice or weaponize your words. That's when they realize they mess with someone who's mastered emotional intelligence. You're not reacting. You're responding with purpose. And if someone crosses a line so deep, so disrespectful that it doesn't deserve a classy response, then don't respond at all. Distance is the loudest boundary. Cut the rope. Block the number. Walk away. Not with bitterness, but with grace. So loud it makes them laugh and makes them question their existence. Because sometimes the classiest move is complete and total removal. Daily life will test you. In friendships, in relationships, even online, people will bait you. They'll twist your words. They'll project their insecurities onto you, hoping you'll break character and give them a show. Don't. Keep your soul clean. Let your energy speak louder than your words. There is nothing more lethal than a woman who knows she could destroy someone with facts, but chooses to walk away instead. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone who has already decided not to understand you. Let your life be your proof. Let your grace be your revenge. Let your peace be your legacy. Because queens don't roar in the face of gossip. They adjust their crown, lift their chin, and keep walking like they never heard a thing. Outgrow, don't out-argue. Because your evolution is the loudest argument you'll ever need. You don't rise by lowering yourself to someone's level just to prove a point. You rise by elevating so high that they can't even reach you to debate. Some people want to argue not because they seek truth, but because your presence reminds them of what they aren't becoming. And that discomfort forces them to attack, to debate, to tear down. But here's the truth. You don't need to win the argument if you're already winning in life. There's this undeniable power in simply saying nothing and letting your success speak. Think about it. Someone criticizes your dreams, says they're unrealistic, mocks you behind your back. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend your ambition to someone too scared to chase their own. You just keep building. Then one day, they're watching you live the very life they said you'd never have. That's not revenge, that's evolution, and it's poetic. Every day, people will test your patience. At work, a co-worker might try to discredit you in front of others. They want you to argue, to prove your worth, to battle with words. But what happens when you simply nod? Return to your excellence and let your performance do the talking. Eventually, even your enemies will have to admit, she didn't fight for her place, she earned it. In relationships, it's the same. Sometimes, people will try to trigger you, press your buttons, pull you into emotional warfare because they know how passionate you are. They confuse your fire for a weakness. But when you choose to outgrow the need to always be right, when you choose peace over petty, you walk away as the real winner. You show them that maturity is silent and dignity doesn't debate. One woman told me about her best friend turning toxic, subtle jealousy, constant criticism masked as concern. They began to argue constantly until one day she stopped responding. She stopped explaining herself. She didn't cut her off with drama. She just outgrew the need to prove her loyalty, her value, her decisions. And that silence, that shift, it ended the war before it even began. Because sometimes the strongest boundary isn't confrontation. When someone is obsessed with arguing, they reveal their inner chaos. When you refuse to participate, you reveal your inner peace. And there is nothing more threatening to a chaotic person than someone who remains calm in the storm they created. You don't have to match their energy, you control your own. And when you master that, you win every battle before it starts. Growth looks like walking away mid-argument because you realize you have better things to protect, like your peace, your focus, your energy. Growth looks like choosing not to respond to an online troll because you know they're not looking for truth, they're looking for attention. Growth looks like smiling when they throw shade because deep down you know your light is untouchable. Here's the truth. People argue to pull you down to their level. But when you evolve, you become unreachable. You no longer feel the need to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. You don't clarify your value. You don't negotiate your truth. You just rise. And in doing so, you become a mirror, forcing them to see themselves, not through your words, but through your transformation. You're not here to be loud. You're here to be legendary. And legends don't argue, they ascend. Let them talk. Let them twist the narrative. Let them misunderstand. Just keep growing. Let your glow be your comeback. Let your silence be your strength. Because real power doesn't argue. Real power outgrows. You don't fight fire with fire. You rise above the smoke and let your flame light the way. Let them whisper. Let them watch. Let them wonder how you keep evolving when everything they threw at you was meant to break you. That's the difference between you and them. They speak from fear. You move with faith. They react from insecurity. You respond with intention. You were never born to argue with noise. You were born to move in silence and let your results roar like thunder. The truth is, not everyone will clap when you win. Some will frown at your rise because your strength reminds them of the courage they never dared to claim. But that's not your burden to carry. You're not here to shrink for their comfort. You're not here to make yourself digestible for people who choke on authenticity. You're here to shine unapologetically, fiercely, boldly, because queens don't ask for space, they create it. Every moment you choose not to retaliate but to rise, you're rewriting your legacy. Every time you don't swing back but step up, you're declaring, I'm not who I was, I'm who I'm becoming. And that's the most powerful declaration a woman can make. Because in a world that profits from your silence, your peace, your restraint, and your evolution are forms of rebellion. You don't just survive the hate, you transmute it. You don't run from the jealousy, you use it as jet fuel. You don't collapse under pressure, you crystallize into diamonds. Some of the most unforgettable legends in history didn't win by outshouting their critics. They won by building something so undeniable that the world had no choice but to respect it. Be like that. Be the kind of woman whose silence carries more weight than their noise. Be the kind of soul that doesn't chase validation because her value is too high to be measured by applause. And when the world tries to drag you down with envy, with mockery, with shallow attacks, remember this: lions don't flinch at the barking of dogs. Eagles don't flap at flies. Oceans don't explain their depth to puddles. And you? You don't need to shrink your power just to make the insecure feel safe. You weren't built to blend in. You were designed to stand out. Let them say what they will. Let them assume. Let them misinterpret your silence as weakness and your grace as vulnerability. Because here's the plot twist. They thought your peace was a pause, but it was preparation. They thought your silence meant surrender. But it was your strategy. They mistook your stillness for softness, not realizing your strength was growing in silence like a storm, waiting for the right moment to shake the earth. Keep going. Keep building. Keep showing up when no one believes in you, when they mock you, when they compete in shadows. Because the truth is, real queens don't compete. They create. They don't retaliate. They radiate. They don't chase attention. They attract loyalty. And that, my dear, is the legacy you're crafting. So protect your energy. Move with purpose. stay above the drama. And when they try to break you with bitterness, let your healing be the loudest sound they hear. Walk in rooms like you own them, not because of ego, but because you know the power of someone who made it out of battles they never spoke about. You are the fire they can't put out, the storm they can't predict, the woman they can't forget. In the end, let them remember not what you said, but how you rose. Not the wars you fought, but the empire you built in silence. Be so elevated, they can't even reach you to argue. Because when you stop explaining yourself and start evolving, you don't just win, you redefine what winning even looks like.